Welcome to Small Business Planning Week, sponsored by Bank 59 and the Idea Collective. I'm your host for the week, Pat Miller, the Idea Coach. If you feel like sometimes throughout the year you're guessing or you're surprised or something happens like a curveball and you really didn't think about it in advance, well, that's what this week is all about. On this 5-day journey, we're going to prompt you to think about all the facts and facets of your business, from your values to your mission and vision, operations, products, marketing, and more. Now, we don't have time to dig into everything completely, so it's going to be kind of a fast-moving overview. But we are going to give you time to think about stuff when it's important, and Liz will explain all of this as we go. Plus, we're going to record all 5 days of the conversations, drop them into the vault on the Idea Collective, and put them up on the Idea Collective YouTube page as well. So if we move too fast in a section and you want to go back and consider something that we did, no problem. We'll allow you to do that as well. Now, the overall framework in the curriculum, of course, is with the brilliant subject matter expertise of Liz Watson, the leader on the Impact Trail. So without any further ado, let's bring in the professor for the week, Liz Watson. Liz, happy Monday. How are you, my dear?
Hey, happy Monday. Doing great. Feeling good. The sun is out today in Wisconsin, so that always makes it better in December.
Absolutely to that. And we kind of dodged a lot of the snow, depending on where you were supposed to be. So that's good. So we've got 5 days together, but only 1 hour each day. So we're going to rock and roll and move fast. But I don't want to lose sight on this is your jam, Strategic Planning Goddess. So tell us about the Impact Trail and what you do.
Great. Thank you, Pat. At the Impact Trail, we serve small business owners that are focused on the triple bottom line. And that means people, planet, and profit. So, right, as you mentioned, through the strategic planning I offer, and also now some dashboard development services, we're making sure there's data-driven opportunities get identified so that small businesses can really figure out how to best optimize how they operate so they can make an even bigger impact in the world.
And that impact is really important. So important, you named your company after it. And I know you'll help anybody, but you really like helping people that have a cause or a mission. Why is that important to you?
Boy, I guess that's how I feel I'm going to be able to give back and how I can make an impact. I think there are folks out there that have fantastic ideas on how to change the world, whether it's from an environmental perspective or doing something to help people and help our communities. They have the fantastic ideas. I can help them put things in place so they have more time for those ideas and to get those out to the world. So just on a personal level, sustainability has always been important, from raising my children to taking care of my own health and caring about the earth. And I thought, you know what, let's tie that into the work that I do every day.
I'm really passionate about looking forward into the next year. Let's talk about the concept of taking this time. Why is planning and looking forward like this so important for a small business owner?
Boy, instead of just being in reactive mode, right, all the time, which is so easy to do, especially for very small businesses, let's pause, let's reflect. Let's think about what's important to us, not only for our business, but personally, and actually then plot out some things throughout the year to help us really get to where we want to go. So December is certainly a good time to refresh that before we jump into the new year.
So we're going to get into the agenda in just 1 second. And I'm going to be here to set up some questions and keep things moving. But Liz is going to be the one that leads the curriculum throughout the 5 days. So before we get into today's content, can you just zoom out for a second, talk through each day what we're going to cover?
Sure. So today we're going to talk about the mission and vision and values. So because we really need to lay a foundation of that first before we get into some details as we move through the rest of the week. So we'll do that today. Then day 2, we're going to talk about financial steadiness and operational excellence. Things that you need for a strong financial foundation, and it's just not revenue. And then also considering people, systems, and software process that you need to keep everything humming in the background. Day 3, we're going to talk about your products, whether that's services or physical products. And we'll talk about visibility, how you want to get you and your company more visible out there so more people are aware of what you offer. Day 4, we're going to talk about then growth and development, considering both from a team perspective as you run your small business, but also not forgetting to think about you and what personal and professional development that you need to move forward. And then Friday is our wrap-up day. We're going to open it up to even more questions, kind of recap what we talked about for the week, and just share some time together then.
It's going to be a great week from today all the way through Friday, looking at all facets of our business. But true to the Idea Collective style, we're not going to do this alone. So tell us how we're going to bring Idea Collective members in to add their expertise.
Yeah, so we've asked folks within the Idea Collective that are experts in these different areas to come and share what do they commonly hear from their clients when they're serving other small businesses. What are the things that pop up that they really want to encourage them to think about or plan and get done in their small business so they can be even more successful? So I'm really excited to have so many different subject matter experts join us along the way this week.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And I think we should all just stop and say thanks, Liz, for your hard work, because Liz has been working on this just tirelessly to get ready to walk us through this week. And she's going to have her hands on 40 to 50 businesses throughout the week. So we are all very grateful for your hard work. Thank you for that. And she's created a workbook for us to use as we move through the week. So Susie's dropping that into the chat intermittently, but if you haven't downloaded the PDF workbook, and we'll get it in your hands. One last thing before we get going, and this is me putting on my dad pants, if you will. You're going to get out of this week what you put into it. So if right now you're looking at Twitter and just listening to me, stop. If you're checking your email and you're not listening and watching, okay, that's fine, but you are not going to get out of this week what you deserve to get out of this week. I'm challenging you, put your phone on Do Not Disturb, close your social media, and give yourself 1 hour each day this week, because by April, May, and June, your life will be so much better because you paid attention and you are ready to go. Because why we're here today is to make sure that you have a happier, healthier, and more profitable business in 2021. So with that, I think it's time we finally get rocking and rolling. Liz, let's start with the important definition and kind of framing everything about a small business. You talk about the front office and the back office. From a leadership and strategic standpoint, what's the difference between front and back office operations?
Well, yeah, and the reason we want to think about that is that it's where do you put your focus? Thinking of you as the small business owner, where should you be spending your time? And really, you want to make sure that the back office is humming so that you as the small business owner is spending more time in the front office. So what do we mean, right? You can call it the front end or the back end or front of the house or back of the house, whatever makes sense to you. But front office is really where that small business CEO needs to spend their time. And that is idea creation, relationship building, marketing, and sales. So they can be out and making sure that what their business is about is getting shared with others and they're getting opportunity to bring in more customers or more clients. So that is really the front office. The area that I specialize in, and when I talk about strategic planning and serve my clients, I'm truly focused on the back office. And that's really going to be common areas within any size business. We're talking small business in this series this week, but really it applies to any size. When you think about what needs to happen operationally for a business to run, you still can think strategically about that. Yes, you're going to think strategically about how you do marketing and how you do your sales, but also all the stuff in the back office can have that strategic view also. It's really just going to optimize how you can operate to deliver that service or product that you have. And those are the areas that we're going to cover throughout this week. All those back office areas that make sense to get you humming and going.
Do you think that some small business owners are more comfortable worrying about back office, but realize they have to move to the front office to grow?
Oh boy. Yes, because when small businesses start, it's typically with our community, Pat, a one-person show to get started, maybe two if they're lucky. So a lot of their time is spent in that back office. And it's that becoming aware that in order to not just grow, but scale, they truly need to step out of that and create the team that they need to meet the vision that they have and step more into that front office. So yes, it's a recognition that that's out there, but understandably, you have to spend time in the back office to get it up and running.
Very good. Very good. Well, let's get down to one of the first concepts that you want to share. You talk about mission, vision, and values. Let's start with values. How do you define values? Well, let's back up for a second. Mission, vision, and values as a whole. Is that our North Star, as I've heard some people call it?
Yeah, it's really the foundation. Before we can go in and deep dive and look at these strategic pillars in your business, if these three things aren't clear to you, it makes it a lot harder. Sure, you could come up with a list of things, but is it really going to get you where you want to go? So yeah, North Star is a good way to put it, Pat. It's just truly the foundation to consider before anything else.
And some folks that are really good at delivering a product maybe haven't even stopped to consider these things. So it's exciting to talk today about values and mission and vision. Let's start with values. What do you have to share about that? And now everyone, we've got that nice little workbook where we've got places to fill in. So here's our opportunity. Look at how pretty. So, okay, let's start with values, Liz.
Right. And I'd like to think about this first, even though I think most people hear it in that order of mission, vision, values. But let's get clear on that first. Really, we want to think about from a personal perspective and also for your business. Someone shared with me 80% of who we are really isn't that special, but 20% of it is. So I really liked that way to capture values, because here's what I want to share is we want to talk about that top percent, top 10%, and bottom 10%. So think of it this way. Some of you may already have values established for your business. Some of you may not, or maybe you do personally. Especially for small businesses, you can certainly start with the personal and what's important to you. We want to really get to the root of that. And what I like about this from a top 10% or bottom 10%, it's really kind of the positive and the negative. The top 10% is think about really what you love or what you pride yourself on. Or when you think about your favorite clients or customers, what do you love about that? Or organizations that you support or friends that you have. When you think about, boy, I really enjoy being with these people or being associated with these organizations because this is what's important to them. This is what pulls me to them. And makes me feel good. So that's one way to think about it. So you want to come up with different adjectives that you could use to describe these values, like respect, for example. But one way to look at it is that top 10% of truly what you love. I like the other approach better, and it was easier for me to come up with the bottom 10%. And this is what are your pet peeves? What do you really hate might be a strong word, or really drives you crazy when somebody acts like this or treats somebody like that. You kind of think of it with that lens and then flip the script, turn it into a positive, right? You wouldn't want to say on your company website, you know, we hate people that do this. I don't know, maybe that might work for some brands. But the idea is, I found it more helpful of, yes, when I have worked with clients or I've dealt with people, what's that stuff that drives me crazy? And then you can get a little closer to, well, why did that drive you crazy? Why did you not like that? Why did you feel uncomfortable? What made that not a good experience? Then you take that and figure out how to flip that into a positive. Consider, right, the last time you had a bad experience, and then turn that around. Because you always want the values to be positive. Now, keep in mind with these values, they don't all have to be published on your website or everywhere. There are some maybe that you do want to share with those that you'll be working with, but maybe there are just some behind the scenes that you keep personally to help you stay clear to you about how you go about living your life or running your business. And there's really no right or wrong of how many you have, what you have. It's really something that's close to you. But one thing I like about values is that you can start with just finding those adjectives as you go through the good stuff and the things that drive you crazy. The next challenge is coming up then with statements that maybe capture that sentiment a little bit more instead of just a one word. So people don't have to guess what you mean when you say respect or another adjective. That's the next step. If you don't have values established already, just going through this exercise to come up with some of those adjectives is a fantastic way to start. It's all about building a business that's going to feel the best to you.
So let me ask a few questions because this is really great stuff. And if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat because today we have a little playtime. We're going through some really heavy stuff and we got to get this right before we can move on. You mentioned using the bottom 10%. And let's say the bottom 10% value is, I hate it when people treat networking relationships like transactions and they don't value the person. The next step you're saying is now that you know that, you can switch that into a positive because it's one of my values. I will value the people I do business with or something like that. Am I hearing you right?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Question from Claire in the chat. How many values should we shoot for? Is it infinite? Is it 2? Like, what do you think is a good sweet spot?
Gosh, I would say, especially when you want to share it with others, I would say a handful at most.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, don't limit yourself as you are brainstorming and creating the ideas, but maybe cull it down to about a handful that truly resonate. Because a lot of times as you go through them and kick them out, you're going to realize some are related and maybe you lump them together. I've done that exercise before with people where we kind of throw everything at the wall and then realize, aha, these really 2 or 3 here, really we're getting to the root of the same thing. So you know what, let's just call it this one thing. So yeah, I'd say about a handful.
And what a beautiful time of year to do this. You might not be launching your business right now, but we're getting ready to go into 2021. The last question I have about the values is like, does this turn into your order of operations? I'm committing to myself. I'm going to do this, this, and this because these are my values to guide myself as I make my plan.
Yeah, it's certainly a guide. I like it because sometimes you can, if you're looking to do something and you need to make a decision, sometimes you can reference this, right? Does it still meet with my values? I want to change this about my business or something else. You can use that. As you bring on team members, you can share these with them. This is what's important to me, either as the leader or these are the values we've established for this company. And if you're going to work with us, just so you know, right, here's what we're basing our decisions on because these are so important.
Yeah, I can see I could be really powerful for employees, team members, VAs, et cetera. Dr. Zelda is asking, should you include these values in your marketing materials? Do you think they're worth telling your clients about?
Yes, certainly. I would. Those core handful that really get to the root of what your values are for your business, definitely promote those.
Great.
Certainly.
So what else do you want to do with values here? Do you want to allow some people some time to write, or what do you want to do?
Yes, I think so. Let's take a minute for you to brainstorm some of those things of either, oh yes, I know, top of mind, these are core to me. From that top 10% or the bottom, either way, right? If it's helpful to think of the things that tick you off, great. throw some of those down. Otherwise, take the other approach and think of some positives, but just take a minute to start jotting those ideas down on your worksheet. And that's going to be on the day one page.
Yep. Day one, first page, go ahead. And we'll just give you about 60 seconds here to think about it. And if I had some background music, we would play it, but we don't. So we'll just stand by for just 1 minute. They're asking us to sing, Liz. That's not a thing.
Oh boy.
Yes, Amanda. My picture is Abby because my computer died. I could have used you guys about 45 minutes ago. So it was kind of bad. Susie, can we drop into the chat again the PDF of the workbook? Barbara just messaged me asking about where the location is. So Barbara, we've got a PDF that we'll drop into the chat. They might have shared it right before you logged in, but you can download the PDF and then do the work along with it. All right, Liz, let us know when you want to move on to mission, and we'll get cracking here.
All right, everybody. Ready to go? Let's do it. Okay. Let's switch over to mission then.
So talk to us about mission. So we've got our values. How does mission differ from values?
This is really your declaration of purpose. You want people to be able to understand what you do as a company, how you do it, and how you are providing value to your customers or clients. You want it to be concise enough so they understand that. They understand that purpose and how they're going to get value and really how they're going to experience the transformation that they are looking for by working with you and your business. So you can also tie to it, in addition to what do you do, how do you do it, certainly as your business grows, or if you want to get a little bit deeper, also sharing the intention of your business, truly why you are doing what you're doing. Kind of that does tie to those values, right? And this truly should, as you asked before about marketing, this should truly influence what you have in your marketing or on your website, right? This is the core of, think of mission as what you're doing right now, not what you'd like to be doing a year from now in your business. But if somebody learns about you today, what is the current state of what you do, how you do it, and how they're going to get value from that?
So a mission, just to give an example, let's say my mission at the moment might be to establish the Idea Collective for a collaboration space for small business owners to grow their businesses. But my vision that we'll get to next might have a grander scope or a grander scale.
That is correct. Correct. And that's going to be the main difference. Keep the mission to what you're doing today.
Dealing with broken computers, is that part of my mission today? So this ends up being a statement then. This is really someone shines the light on you. Why are you on the planet right now? This is what I'm doing.
And it can be a 1, 2 sentences, 3. I mean, you don't want it longer than 3. I don't suggest. You want it concise, but enough where people are going to truly get the sense of what you're about and what your company's doing.
Lisa's curious, can you maybe shoot off an example of a good mission statement or try and ad-lib one that you think would match a good mission statement?
Pat, I think the example you gave just a bit ago was pretty good, right? So when we think about that, and I try to capture mine in that way, right? So at company XYZ, I serve this customer and I help them do this so that they can XYZ, right? So if you kind of have those components. Yep. So I serve small business owners through strategic planning so that they can identify opportunities to optimize how they operate and ultimately make a bigger impact in the world. So it's kind of those pieces.
Yeah.
My company does this for this audience or this avatar, whatever you want to call it, ideal client, so that they can do this. And we do that together by offering this product or service.
Would it be okay with you if we brought someone on that might need a little help here? Because we have some time today, whereas the rest of the week we don't have as much time because we're going to rock through big time topics. If you're really stuck with this and you want to jump on, we'd be happy to include you, talk to you a little bit and see if we can refine it for you. I don't know if that's appropriate. We can't guarantee that it's going to be perfect, but we'll do our best. Trust me, Liz is good at what she does. So if you want to jump in, let us know in the chat and we'll include you. Is this where people get stuck with the mission rather, or do they get stuck thinking their vision is their mission and getting like all this stuff jumbled together?
I think it certainly can get jumbled. Mission, I think, is a little easier because it's the reality of what you're doing. I think it's easier to come up with this than it is your vision, honestly. And I think somebody chimed in with, does this change over time? It certainly does. Mm-hmm. I suggest definitely annually taking a look at your mission, vision, and values. Mm-hmm. Now, if something totally new has come up, and so for some, considering this past year, if you had to completely shift either how you did business or what your business is about, then pause and rewrite that mission statement. But if something hasn't changed to that degree, I definitely encourage looking at it annually. Now, when I work with my clients, we look at it every quarter. Let's just look at it. Has anything changed that would make you want to revisit and rewrite that mission statement or tweak it? But definitely ensuring once a year you're looking at these three things.
And shout out to Lori Mendelson. She's right. It's tough to come up with this in 5 minutes, nor do we expect you to do that. We just hope that we're getting your juices flowing to get you thinking about it. A question in the chat from Amanda, do values make up the mission, or are values the way we execute the mission?
Great question. Values is certainly, it's going to impact your mission, right? So if there are things that are important to you from a values perspective, or I guess I should say the opposite, things that you truly want to avoid, you'd want to make sure your business is not delivering that type of service or that kind of experience to your clients. So it can certainly, values can certainly inform your mission statement. It doesn't all have to be baked into that. The mission is more about what you are doing and how people are truly going to benefit from that.
Yeah, understood. So what do you want to do here? Do you want to take a moment, or do you want to charge on to vision? And I want to say thank you to Lynn for asking for some help. I think what we're going to do, Lynn, is we'll save some question time at the end of our call today, but building a mission in real time might be a little bit of a challenge. So thank you for raising your hand. I appreciate you. But let's move on to vision. Is that okay with you, Liz?
Yeah, I think that's a great approach. Let's move on to that next and talk about that.
So mission is what we're doing right now. Tell us about vision.
So vision. This is really three-pronged. I think about my business. I think about the role I want to have in my business, and then also on a personal level. So large corporations may have 10-year visions. You don't have to have a vision that's 10 years out. Something like 2 to 5 years out might be more, as someone said, comfortably uncomfortable for you. You don't feel you have to have 10 years out. Now, I had a client that was looking 100 years out because she wanted to know that what she was doing was not going to be needed 100 years from now. I thought that was pretty cool. That was pretty unique when that came up, but mostly for small business owners, it's a 2 to 5 year time frame. So let's talk about those three areas. How do you see your business in 2 to 5 years? And you pick the time frame, right? And I would encourage you to say, by 2025, XYZ, here's my vision. Where do you want to see your business? I have another client also, and probably you guys know several of them. They want to be a disruptor in their industry. That's their vision. So think about that. It's that bigger picture stuff. You can't grab it right now, but ooh, wouldn't that feel good if my business could be this, or will be this actually, right? When we think of mindset, this is where my business will be in that particular time frame, the 2 to 5 years, whatever you pick. So do you envision totally different services or products from where you're at today? Do you want to have your business be able to, do you want to bring in enough profit in your business so that you can donate to particular causes you're passionate about? What are you looking for this business to ultimately deliver and be in that time frame? So that's why it's different than the mission statement. It's not what you're doing today. It's thinking bigger, getting uncomfortable, but having it be exciting of, ooh, wouldn't that be great if 5 years from now, this is what my business would be. So think of it just from that perspective, but also think of it as, what role do you want in your business in that time frame? Certainly you're all leaders of your own small business, but are you at the point in that time frame? For some people, it's, I want to ensure that within 5 years, I'm going to be able to sell my business. So maybe you want to get to that point. Or what role do you want to step into or play in, really, in the business that's going to truly fulfill you as that owner? So think about that role too, because when you think of your role in addition to the business as a whole, it's going to help you understand, how do you need to evolve in you as a person in that role that you're looking to be in. And we're going to talk about development in a couple of days, but it helps feed that to know, how do you need to evolve and what team are you going to need to support you so that you can grow into that role that's really exciting to you. And then the third piece is personal. Where are you going to be in that 2 to 5 year time frame? What do things look like for you personally? If you have kids, are they going to be out of the house? In my case, that's what's going to happen. So think about, from maybe your family or friends, where might things be in that time frame? What would you like it to be? Your health, do you need to be focused on that? How is your health going to look in that time frame? What other personal goals might you have? Do you want to be able to build a house within that time frame, or take some fantastic vacations, right, Tanya? From a personal level, where do you want to be? So yes, we're small business owners, but because we're small and not these large corporations, what's nice about this is the values and the vision can be personal, right? If ultimately, my ultimate goal is that I want to be able to pay off my college for my children, and that's my vision. Okay, then what we're going to do next is, what do you need to plan for and do to make that happen in 5 years, for example? So that's the intent. And keep in mind that this vision does not have to be shared outside your organization, especially the personal stuff. Maybe the business stuff or the role you're going to share with your team. You may want to keep the personal to yourself or your family. It's up to you how you want to share it, but don't feel that this also has to be published on your website. If you feel good about that, fantastic, go ahead and do that. But it's really more to help fuel you. And this is also the other North Star that you run everything by. And when I work with my clients and they have new ideas to do things, which sometimes small business owner visionaries do, it'll be, now, wait a minute, is that going to move you closer to your vision? Or is that totally out of alignment? So in my role, I make sure I question that and point out, remember what you pointed out was truly important to you from a business and personal standpoint. By doing this new thing, is that really getting you there? So that at the core of vision, that's really what it is. And it's realistic enough. So it's pie in the sky and it's fun and exciting, but it's realistic enough so you can put a plan in place to make it happen. And that's what I try to focus on is once I hear where you want to go, how can we break that down to help you get closer to it? And these components we'll talk about the rest of the week help feed into that. Or you can just create some very high level milestones that you want to get to if this is your vision within a 5-year time frame. So you can then make sure you're actually making progress towards it. So that's the uniqueness of vision compared to values and mission.
And that's what makes today so powerful. That's why we're starting here. If we get into operations and finances and marketing without understanding why you're doing all that stuff, that's why this conversation is so critically important. We have some time for questions if you want to drop some in the chat. We have a few to get to. But I want to circle back on something that you said. This isn't something that has to be shared. Because you don't have to put up on your website, I plan to retire in 5 years, or I'm working so hard to pay off my house, or I want to book travel with Tanya, or I want to, whatever it is. Like, it can be the thing that guides you without being a public statement, because there is, I think right now, and correct me if I'm wrong, many people are using mission and vision to talk about the change and the impact that they want to bring. That's great. Sometimes the impact and change they want to bring, however, is for themselves and their family. Right. That's also okay, right?
Oh, yes, definitely. Yeah, and especially for small business owners, right? It all ties together. The way we live our lives, as most of you find, right? You don't just turn off the business and move to your personal life. It's all intermixed nowadays. So yeah, make sure that you're going to feel fulfilled personally through the work that you're doing. And the vision helps you get to that from both the personal and business perspective. Boy, where do I want to be? What do I see? What are those big, cool things that would be so fun to celebrate in that 2 to 5 year time frame, or whatever time frame that you're comfortable setting? And again, right, this doesn't have to be dusted off every quarter and revisited once a year, definitely. But yeah, that's really what you're getting at.
So what about the vision statement as far as its permanence? Is it static? Is it dynamic? Or like you say, once a year we're looking at it? Or is that appropriate for the vision?
Yeah, I think once a year is appropriate because it's longer term. I think you would only want to revisit if something major happened. And whether that be you truly realize now you want to take your business in a whole different way, or maybe something on your personal side changed. But I think annually is definitely a good enough exercise to revisit this.
Now, what are you doing as far as a strategic planner is concerned? If someone's on the call saying, boy, I don't have any of this stuff, or, oh my God, Liz, please help me. I know that you're going to be teaching us all week and we appreciate that. But are you taking on clients right now, and how do you start the client relationship with somebody?
Yeah, I do. And these are the first 3 things we certainly talk about. And really the approach I take is to try to ask those questions, trying to get down to think about things that are important in your personal life or in your business, or right, where do you see things? Where do you want to go with this? I haven't found anyone that once they get time to think about it, they've always have something, that comes up and realize, oh, that's right. You know what? I have been thinking about that. I do want to sell my business in 5 years. Okay, great. Then it helps me go, aha, then we better make sure what things could be done then in the next year and help you get closer to that. So yes, I certainly start with these as the foundation to help them. And then we can pull out some of the more specifics as we move along.
Lisa asks a very insightful question. So should we have this up on a board someplace? Is this how you make vision boards? I mean, how can we make sure that these thoughts are with us every day.
Yeah, I think you're right, Lisa. Having these visual is very helpful. I think the values, which I have up in my office to remind me, right? That I told myself these are the core values I have. So if you're looking to make a decision or wondering that you're working on something and you feel a little frustrated, pause and go, hey, wait a minute. Is this connecting with my values or not? I would agree. Yeah. And especially with your vision, having that visual too also really helps.
Okay. So what are some final thoughts from you on mission, vision, and values? Now that we've shared the content, folks can take time to think about it on their own time, which is fantastic because that's when the insights will come.
Right.
But what haven't we talked about with these three issues as far as laying that strong foundation to plan our 2021?
Yeah, that's really what it is the foundation. Because if you're not clear on one of these three things or all, then right, when you sit down and go, how would I like to be more visible? If you're not sure what you want to be visible about in the shorter term, so it can help you get to the longer term vision, that's where it can be more challenging. So it's really just becoming more aware and helping give you some clarity so that you can move forward and actually get a plan established.
Excellent. Well, if you have any final questions, drop them into the chat, but let's talk about what's coming up for the rest of the week because it's just going to be bang up. I mean, today is all about laying that foundation, but the rest of the week is going to be very detailed and we're going to move fast. So here's what we're going to do. Tomorrow, we're covering financial steadiness and operational excellence. Can you give us a sneak preview of what do you mean by financial steadiness and operational excellence?
Yes. So even though it's called financial steadiness, it's not just all about your revenue. It's establishing a strong financial foundation. And the things we're going to consider are legal aspects of your business, your finances. Of course, we don't want to exclude that, but think about taxes, think about insurance. What are some of those financial pieces that should be in place for your business? And we're going to think strategically about that and talk to folks, experts in those areas of, if you're thinking about legal, maybe what are some of those components you should think about? Are you considering maybe changing the legality of your business makeup? Maybe it's time to do that in the second quarter of next year. Or that's what we eventually get to is, well, what are the things? And then when should we focus on them? So financial steadiness is really a combination of several things to ensure you have systems in place, you have the right resources in place. Your bookkeeping is another one that we're going to be talking about. So that's what the focus will be, is what are all the components of that and what might you want to look at to either change or put in place in next year to make it even more solid.
Excellent. And in Idea Collective style, this is going to be a group effort. Tomorrow, listen to this. This is why tomorrow is going to be so crazy. So drink your Red Bull, kids, and get ready to take notes because tomorrow's going to be crazy. We have not only Liz leading us through those two subjects, financial steadiness and operational excellence, but we will have on one show in 1 hour, I mean, this is like radioactive brain power. Rachel Lamontia, Megan Schwann, Jackson Bubolz, Andrea Davis, Nicole Bandis, Susie Moon, and more, all on one show, plus Liz doing the thing. And you have the workbook now in your hands, so you can start seeing some of the things that we're going to be talking about the rest of the week. So here's what we're going to do. We're a little bit short to a full hour today, but I have a feeling, and Liz, I don't want to talk for us, but I have a feeling later on in the week, we might take those 10 minutes back because we have so much content that we need to get through. So let's wrap up day one of Small Business Planning Week because you've got homework anyway. You got to fill this thing out. You can't just not do it. And by the way, if you're on Twitter right now or your email, I'm looking at you disapprovingly right now. I told you not to do that. I told you, Melissa Blair, not to be doing stuff. I can see the reflection in your glasses. I can see it. So get dialed in for tomorrow because it's going to be great. A big thank you to our presenter, Liz Watson, the leader on the Impact Trail. If you want to know more about Liz or ask for her help because she's the goods, LizWatsonImpactTrail.com. Tomorrow at noon. Now, one other thing to note, each day is a different registration, so please use the link. Use the link that Susie's dropping into the chat so you get the Zoom call for tomorrow. And that way you can join us for the operation tomorrow at noon. Thank you to our sponsors, Bank 59 and the Idea Collective. I'm Pat Miller, the Idea Coach, broken computer and all. I hope you all had fun today. Day 1 of Small Business Planning Week is in the books. Thank you, Liz. We'll see you tomorrow. Now, go get your stuff done.